Okay, hi again, everyone. Welcome back to English for Pinoys. To those who are new here, this channel is dedicated exclusively to Filipinos living either here in the Philippines or abroad who would like to improve their English communication skills, primarily focusing on speaking and writing, the output areas of communication. And of course, in the introduction, I had more detail about that. Now, in this first, or rather second video now of the channel, we'll be talking about Filipinisms. Okay? But first of all, of course, we have to define what Filipinisms are. Filipinisms are words that we Filipinos use that are either non-standard, meaning native English speakers do not usually use them or use them differently. Some Filipinisms also are not in the dictionary, meaning we just invented them. And the other type of Filipinisms are actually words or phrases that are either grammatically incorrect or syntactically incorrect. So the types of Filipinisms, as far as I have noticed, can be divided into, can be broken down into three. They are neologisms, neo-semanticisms, or neo-tourisms. In case you're wondering what those words are, well, we are going to talk about them here in the introduction to Filipinisms. Let's talk first about neologisms. Okay, just from the word itself, neo meaning new. Neologism is defined as a newly invented word or phrase. For example, selfie. Everybody knows what a selfie is, but did you know that perhaps 15-20 years ago that word wasn't in the dictionary, and I believe it became the word of the year back in, well, about probably 3 or 4 years ago. Right now we're using selfie all the time. We do it all the time with our smartphones, but it didn't used to be a word that was in the dictionary, in any dictionary. We also have the word app, which is just a shorter version or shortened version of application. So software applications, for example, if you have a smartphone, you download software applications. That's where the word app comes from. You also have a neologism like factoid. Okay, so that's a neologism. A neologism can also be what we call a portmanteau word. A portmanteau word is a new word formed by joining two others and combining their meanings. For example, webinar. Some of you who work online are probably familiar with the term. Webinar is simply a combination of, the World Wide Web and seminar. And we have words like cyberspace, which is cyber plus space, and freelance, free plus lance. These are people who work at home or on a contractual basis online, meaning they're not employed officially by any company, but they work part-time for different companies. Alright, the other type of Filipinism is what we call a neo-semanticism. Neo-semanticism is actually also an example of a portmanteau word because it combines the word neo, which is new, and then semantics, the study of language and meaning. So neo-semanticism is the assignment of a new meaning to an existing word. For example, spam. Spam is like, what is that? It used to be just a brand of canned meatloaf. Now it's the term that we use for unwanted messages in our inbox, right? Also, troll. Troll is, well, if you have someone who just posts provocative messages to a chat or a news group just with the intention of disrupting or arguing, that's a troll. So that's an example of a neo-semanticism. We also have the third type of Filipinism, which is a neo-tourism. And neo-tourism is a newly invented word or phrase. For example, ginormous. It's actually in the dictionary now, but it's an invented word. It's a combination of gigantic and enormous. You put the two together, you have ginormous. This is actually an example of a portmanteau word. Workaholic is also a neo-tourism. It's a newly coined phrase. It's probably in the dictionary now. It's combining the words work and alcoholic, meaning if you work a lot, it's like you're addicted to it, so you are a workaholic. Now let's go to some specific examples of Filipinisms. So either they are, again, non-standard, meaning native speakers don't usually use them, they're not in the dictionary, or they are grammatically or syntactically incorrect. Let's start with Filipinisms that are non-standard. For example, every time we run out of text credits, we usually say, can you share me a load? Can I buy a load? Okay, that's not necessarily grammatically incorrect, but it's non-standard, meaning native speakers don't use that. It's usually the term that we use for text credits or call credits. We call it cell phone load. We even share a load. Rubber shoes, right? We call everything that's not leather as rubber shoes, where there's actually a specific name for the type of shoes that someone is wearing. It can be running shoes or training shoes or tennis shoes, whatever. So those are non-standard Filipinisms. And as to neo-tourisms or examples of Filipinisms, neo-tourisms, they are not in the dictionary. Really newly invented word. Maybe not new in the Philippines. We've been using all the time, and some of us, maybe many of us, do not realize that they're actually not in the dictionary. We use the word masteral, right? But there's no such word in the dictionary. You can't find it. There's masters or master's degree. That's the right phrase to say. And ball pen, also not in the dictionary, but we use it all the time. It's not in the dictionary. It should be ballpoint pen, and those are two words: ballpoint plus pen. And then there's presidentiable or senatoriable. Again, we invented this word, so that's why it's a Filipinism. It's an example of a neo-tourism. Presidentiable, when we mean presidential aspirant or nominee or candidate, but we say presidentiable. And then examples of Filipinisms that are grammatically or syntactically incorrect, or they can be redundancies. For example, cope up with. So we usually say that phrase, cope up with. I'm finding it hard to cope up with the exams. When that is wrong, that's a redundancy. You don't need to add the word with there. Okay, you just say cope up. Cope with. You don't need to add the word up there. So you just cope with. It's finding it hard to cope with something. Well, we'll talk more about that when we start discussing phrasal verbs. If in case is also a redundancy, right? If you come to think of it, if is also the same as saying in case. So if you come, in case you come. If it rains, in case it rains. So if in case would be just a repetition of the same term. So that's a redundancy. Equipments, of course, informations, they're not correct. The reason being, equipment is a non-count noun. It doesn't have a plural form, and therefore there's no S form. Same with information. So we'll talk about that more when we discuss count and non-count nouns. All right, so that's our sort of short introduction to Filipinisms. We will have a series of Filipinisms in the next videos, so stay tuned for that. We will cover different types of Filipinisms. Again, neo-tourisms, neo-semanticisms, neologisms. Okay, words that are not in the dictionary, non-standard, or just simply grammatically or syntactically incorrect. Okay, so if you'd like to know more about these Filipinisms, make sure that you tune in for the next video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe, and you can, of course, post a comment in the comment section as to what other English topics you'd like me to cover here on the channel. And that's it. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.